Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience Sunday wrap-up. I'm your host, Michael, the coach of Trip Jacket Mafia. I'm back this week after having the last weekend off. Back in, ready to go. As always, my co-host is Jake, the captain of Kiss My Behinds. How are you, Jake?
Well, put it this way, I wish I was having a week off, Mikey. A pretty stinky round for myself. But we've got quite a few boys from the podcast who had a good round, so expect quite a few jump ups, unlike myself.
Yeah, mate, can't complain. Finally, the Trip Jacket Mafia, I called it after 3 weeks. Look, I'll be honest with you, I was in a bit of a slump and I was down in the dumps, and then I was just like, it's round 3. Just pick yourself up again. Keep trying to make some moves. Obviously wasn't on last week. If anyone tunes into the All-Stars, I've been on All-Stars 2 weeks in a row. Been doing a few potties with Barnesy. So if you listen to that one, I stuck to my trades, but I actually done a boost. So I ended up holding Burbo and I brought in Elise Katoa. So I brought in Elise Katoa and Manu. So I brought in a double time. So it was nice to kill some trades for once and Captain Scotty Drinkwater. But I'm a little bit pissed off with myself because I saw that there was no hooker named on the bench. I was like, yep, Lussig's going to get 80 minutes. I think Eels might win this one. So I played him instead of Ethan Strange and cost myself 65 points, which, look, I know I'm probably just being a bit greedy here, but I should have just stuck with what I had and I would have been 1260 and, you know, those points out. Either way, I'm going to have a massive jump up from 40, but yeah, it still stings a little bit. Jake?
Yeah, it must really hurt Mikey scoring 1,200 where I'm out here making about 8 errors in my team this week and not even scoring 1,000. So,
I know.
So I'm in the dumps like you were a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully in 3 weeks' time I come out of it. But
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'm hurting.
The comeback didn't cost cheap. I've had to use free boosts to do it, but the fact that I'm seeing progress, like, look, I guess kind of when you're in the dumps, you're willing to make a bit more crazy moves, and now it's just when I can save some trades. But yeah, like I might be, as I said, like I might, you know, some people scored 900 to 1,000 this week. I did have Sammy Walker in there for a 3, so and really kind of missed most of the other injuries, which it was a round absolutely full of injuries and Cat 1 and 2 HIAs. So ramifications next week. We've got a lot to go through. We're going to try and pump through them. And just a shout out to Sabs, who's ranked at like 900 and just posted a whopping 1,300. Absolutely flying, this bloke. He's making all the right moves. And yeah, shout out to him. I'm sure you will hear about it on the Tuesday podcast, but absolutely killing it. And it seems like every year we always have someone up there within prime position. So he seems to be up there every year. He seems to be up there every year, but fades away when he runs out of trade. So let's see what he conjures up this year. But he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. All right, let's go over these games. First game we're going to go over is crazy round, might I say. And I think the main thing that all the advice from last week was rain. Don't get this going, don't get that in. I didn't take that approach. I just trusted my gut with some players to go, screw the rain. If there's going to be rain all through the weekend, just go, maybe don't pick a captain on Friday. Stuck to that plan. I know a lot of people, even I was talking to like, God, I wouldn't go Joey Manu to the rain. I was like, no, I'm not going to overthink it. And it worked a treat. So it just kind of shows sometimes that going too hard on the rain planning might not work out. I think it is smart within your captaincy options. But on the weekend, look at that Knights game. Ponga still managed to get 100 and it was absolutely bucketing down. So realistically, yeah, the rain wasn't too big. Obviously, if you did hold your captaincy one of the dry games today, would have paid dividends, especially if you're one of the 4% on Scotty Drink. So, yeah, the big one in this one, Elise Katoa, 110. Brought in by 600 people, but it just felt like everyone I was chatting to brought him in. I did it an hour before kickoff, decided to bring him in. I sold Taylor May, which kind of hurts as a Panthers fan, but was good after the round ended. Now that Jerome Hughes is back and firing, like we were just waiting for Elise Katoa to score a try, and he went over for 2. I really thought he was going to score a try in this game, and their draw opens up a bit. So he's going to be a prime option. A lot of these mid-range second roles are still going pretty average. So I think the play will be to get second roles. And I think after this big score now, a lot more people will be looking at him. But 2%er. Are you looking at him, Jake?
100%, man. I'm pretty sure I'll be bringing him in next week. Like you said, Jerome Hughes, who had a massive game as well, just on that right edge. He's killing it. I know he was against Ezra Mam, who I think he leads the missed tackle count, but still, it's just going to be dangerous.
Yeah, 60 without the tries, and he's only going to go up in price. Now, I think with all the carnage, I don't think a stack of people will be able to get him. I think he'll stay under 10%. I guess we always say on the podcast, trust your gut and try and jump ahead, because now if you didn't jump on last week, you missed out on 110. That's fine. But with the more masses bringing them in, you actually get more pod potential from bringing in that week before. Obviously, you gain that score, and you get that score with, for this example, 2% ownership. So I guess these are the moves that get you ahead. But I'm hoping that too many aren't going to bring him in. We mentioned Jerome Hughes. I thought he was my number one candidate to replace Cleary if you were looking to sell for this week. 108, and looks to be one of the more consistent halves, even against Cleary and Hines. This Storm team's coming into a good patch of form. I just see he's a great option. Like, if I could make the money to go Walker to Hughes, but I feel like Walker's got so much to give, and at the price that we've already lost with both owners, Jake, I feel like we need to hold on. But if I could find my way to Hughes, I'm sure you'd do the same trade.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of halfbacks. I think Hughes, and I also think SJ is kind of one who's, I think, going to be a little bit cheaper than Jerome Hughes, because he hasn't dropped price yet. But Sammy Walker's not going to play next week, so that's a bit of a loss, because I think the Roosters have a decent match against, I think, Newcastle. So not ideal. I'll look in a way to kind of sell Walker and either go to Jerome Hughes or SJ, but we'll see. We'll see come Monday. I think I'll be boosting.
I don't think I'll be able to make it happen. I'm hoping that if we see Iro named for the Sharks, I definitely think I will be jumping on him early, because if I think he's got there and Talakai's on the bench and I believe he won the spot, I'll probably do it to be able to have the cash to do a move like that. Or because I guess we haven't gone through trade for it, so that's probably my big one. A part of me does want to hold Sam Walker, because I think I'll be rewarded for it, especially over the buy periods. I cover the first two buys. And also at the same time, I was really disappointed in the Eels' performance today, and I'm even tossing up running Strange and Galvin in my 5/8s while it's such a muddy position, and grabbing in like Zach Lomax. I've got Joey Manu. I don't need to worry about him. He'll be brought in from the masses, especially when everyone sees him named at the one next week. It's going to get everyone a rock on. So I think with that, I think maybe darting to Lomax might be ideal, because in that poor team, they still have a good run, and I might look at that if possible. Jake, I guess before we move on with the rest of this team, what's early trade thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting Dylan Brown, getting rid of him as well, to kind of fund like Satili up to Eli Katoa or Jackson Ford, or and then also like a Sean Johnson or Jerome Hughes, because I need to do something, man. I don't know. I think Dylan Brown, the way the Para's playing, like you said, they're pretty poor at the moment. So there's no point in him just banging out 40s for the price.
Yeah, we'll get to it with the Eels. But while we're talking about it, they play the Cowboys next week, which now looks like a juicy option for them. Then they play the Dolphins, and then I can't remember who the third one was, but it's not that great of a 3-round average. Then they go on a bye. So the more and more I think about it, he's got to step up at some point, but he hasn't scored above 60 all year, and I'm sick of it. I know he's already dropping cash, but if I can sell him at 600K, and if he's going to keep it up, he's going to go down below 500, and we need points, especially if you want to play a bit aggressive. You need points. But I'll continue with the Storm. Pappenhausen was disappointing for 50. Harry Grant giving a taste to non-owners that, he's going to be you're going to need him at some stage. Just when you get to him will be the big one. Sean Bloor, definitely a watch. The fact that Chan hasn't been named, we're not sure what's going to happen with him. He comes on the bench, but Bloor's PPM was
Chan did
good.
play New South Wales Cup this week. So that's something.
Do you reckon they're easing him back? Because he had that hand injury the week before the bye.
Mm.
It's a confusing one, because then that's kind of like crap for all us owners. You've got a guy that hasn't even got a price rise. Surely he makes his way back into the side, but the Storm are playing good footy, so it's a watch on the team list. But the fact he wasn't named in the 22-man squad, that's crazy, right? He wasn't playing bad footy. He should be in that 80, and that's what's making me think that he got eased back. But that's just me just analysing it. There's no hard hard fact there. But yeah, Sean Bloor, close watch, 63. He's a good mid-range price. That's why it's a very close watch on him. Even as an owner of Katoa, I'm interested at that price. Munster 42. Didn't look 100% still. First game, you allow him to get his fitness, but a close watch on him. A Munster play with the run they're coming into. Could even be a Dylan Brown to him could be the play, to be honest. Like, that's not going to cost you too much. I know that it's going to cost you 100-ish K. And obviously, he needs to play 3 games. But if you like what you see from Melbourne and think you can click it in gear game 2, that could be a super pod play. So that's something I like to normally do. And I guess if you did that play to Munster, you're happy to have him there for most of the year. Just because it's so diabolical in that position. And I don't have enough Storm players. And I think they're really going to start hitting their strides. Over to the Broncos. Jesse Arthur's with an 81. Ezra Mantle 74. Carrigan keeps on going with his work with a 65. Reynolds went off at halftime with this one. And I think, if he didn't, the scoreline would have been very different. Other than that, obviously, Ben Takura on debut, 57. If he manages to stay around, he could be an option to get rid of a Liam Henry of sorts with the -1 now. May miss next week. He might be a way to offload and shed a bit of cash, 100K, but keep him on your watch list, see how it goes. The Broncos are missing a lot. Anything else from here, Jake, before we flip over to you for the next game?
No, not really from that game. I think you had kind of cheaper options like Fetcher Baker. He was poor. Willison obviously was a late withdrawal, so yeah, not really much into this one.
Yeah, just a few things before we move on to the game you cover by N Crystal. Yeah, I think that's a great score. Very good score with both of them. Same to Luke Beasley. I think Sam Walker still got 859. Yeah, it's going to be a tough week for you, but I guess with all 3 of them, I guess you can't really expect too much. Mustard Custard, cool name. 1102 with Young, Henry, Satilli. Yeah, I think Green Arrows. I hate predicting what par is, but I'd say anything over 1,000. So you're going to get some guys that score massive, some that score really low, and then so I'm just assuming it's going to be.
I think maybe 1050 to 1100 is probably going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could get Green Arrows at 1050 depending where you're sitting.
Yeah, depending rank.
I think anything under 1,000, I'd be a little bit worried, but at the same time, there's going to be some really low scores out there. Davey got 1146. I think that's good. Sold Brown for Holmes and moved Strange up. That's pretty good. And holy shit, I need trade help, lads. Yeah,
so do I.
And so does Savs. But he's flying. So over to you for the Doggies and the Roosters game 2, which was one of the craziest games I've ever watched. And that would have been probably the most embarrassing loss ever. One of the most embarrassing losses I've ever witnessed if they were to lose that game.
That's exactly how I was going to introduce it. Like one of the craziest games ever. There was send-offs. There was about 6 HIAs in the game. It was absolute chaos in it. We had Teddy go down early, scored. He actually ended up going down to 4. Sam Walker, HIA, got a 3. Dom Young sent off with a -15, which I think might be the lowest score ever in SuperCoach.
It's close to. I think he goes into the top 3 for sure. I'm not 100%.
Because I know there used to be a -14 for, I think it might have been Hodgkinson. But I don't know. I have a feeling that he could take the spot, which is quite funny because he was pretty highly owned in the last 2 games. But anyway, Birdo top scored in this one. He scored a hat-trick, 147. Scored, I think, half his points playing centre pretty much when Taff went down. I wouldn't look too much into the Dogs' try-scoring performances because the Roosters had players playing everywhere. I don't expect the Dogs to put 30 points every single week, which is kind of going to hurt Birdo. So could be a good quick cash grab, I guess, if you want to go Brown to him, but not one I'd kind of be relying on. I think the Dogs have a bye in a couple of rounds as well. Sammy Hughes gets a try. He was going to be mass sold. Everyone's kind of just going, oh, well, fine, we'll just keep him. Gets a try, so it means his price, his cash gen's just going to go up, which is kind of what we've been craving because he was plugging out like 10 points for the last couple of weeks. So we take that as owners. Max King, good score, 7. but hand injury, I think he's out for 3 to 4 weeks, so that's another.
Could be good for Sam Hughes. And
Yes,
one of the other forwards went down too. So, like, he played 46
Kurt
minutes
Mann,
on the
I think Kurt
weekend.
Mann has an injury as well.
Yep, that's correct. So, to be honest, if Sam Hughes can bump himself up to 40 minutes, of all these people like Sam Walker, if you're holding them, and obviously Galvin's still suspended, he could become a play. If I kind of like their bench makeup around 45 minutes, obviously hold of a cash ration, but like a lot of people had to play Henry this week, and to be honest, like he could just be a handy play. Yet again, with next going on to next week, a few Penrith players, and I know I'm going to be dealing with some HIAs and suspensions. To be honest, I'll look at playing him.
One that you brought in, Mikey, Joey Manu, top scorer for the Roosters, moved to fullback when Teddy went down early. So, although it sucks for Teddy, I guess Joey Manu owners and probably future owners. I know you mentioned it earlier that there's probably going to be a few more people bringing him in.
He'll be in the top 10 this week because, for sure.
Yeah, and they play Newcastle, so you expect them to.
And
he'll
be named at fullback. And his price isn't too bad, and he always goes on this little run. People just wait for him to go a ton. They go, Manu. Yep. And the big thing why I brought Manu in is he plays the first two buys, and I'm assuming Teddy's going to get picked if fit, and he'll go and play fullback for those two crucial rounds where he becomes a huge captaincy option. So, he's 6% owned. He's going to be above 10% next week. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, it's pretty much every time that Manu's picked a fullback, everyone kind of brings him in. So yeah,
Dom Young to him will be the most popular, one of the most popular trades off Dom Young for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Angus Crichton back in the side, 400k, being down 83. One to note, Nat Butcher was ruled out early, which is usually their 80-minute back rower, and then they had players go down everywhere. Satilli was playing centre. Michael Jennings, for goodness sake, was playing at the ripe old age of 35. The good old Silver Fox was out there. So it's a nice one for Angus Crichton, but we'd kind of like a bit more of an idea of what actually would happen had there not been about 3 injuries, a send-off, and HIAs all over the place. But one to definitely monitor if he's getting good minutes, like decent enough minutes, because we know he's got the work rate, he's got the offloads, good attacking player. As long as he's getting, I guess, the 60, 65 minutes plus, he's going to be a good, juicy one to bring in.
Just on him, Jake, I think the big thing with him is obviously because he's played, this is his third game, like his break-even's alive now. So if you like what you saw, you see the team get named again, Nat Butcher's nowhere near it, and you think he's going to continue to play closer to 80, which he seems to be preferred over Tupanua, you might have to jump on next week if you like him at that price. With that 80, he's going to make, what's his break even? 75.
He's pretty much going to be exact same price, yeah.
Exact same price, but his break even will shoot a lot lower now. Obviously, he'll still have an 18 in his rolling average, so you could wait one more week, but he's going to have to be brought in over the next fortnight if you're after a second roller.
Now, 2 players that had absolute stinkers, Satilli and Terrell May, which I don't know really what happened with May. I think because they lost
20 minutes.
I think it kind of didn't work in his favour that they lost. They got Dom Young sent off, which means they ran one less middle. And Radley kind of was playing 80 regardless. So they kind of had 3 props to rotate between one position. And Lizzie Collins played mid-minutes. So I think
JFH, they all increase their minutes. Yet it baffles me because he's one of their best forwards. And the fact that those like Maria Hargreaves, I'm about to say Fisher, Maria Hargreaves and Collins had like over 50 minutes. Like, I'm shocked that he didn't even at least have 40, but he's owned by 46%. So you can get away with it. And we've seen his potential with minutes. So you just have to deal with it. And there's no way I'm not going to play him. And there's no way that that's the worst problem in your side right now.
Yeah, no way. Yeah. I think we can expect a bounce back from that. And I don't think really many people have front rows to play anyway. So Tilly, too, I'm filthy, Mikey. We're kind of in the same boat, but went different ways. I ended up reversing my trade and held Tupanua, and ended up getting rid of Smithies instead. It was like, oh, you have sweet Roosters. He's playing on the edge, going to play 80. He ended up playing 80, but didn't play on the edge, and he was absolute super spud. So
Smithies did very well today.
Smithy played pretty much the whole game because they had injuries. So it just did not go right for me this week. So hopefully we've put that one to bed, and next week's a different story. But it's just not all going well for good old Jake.
Tupanua to Crichton could be a good trade. That's not going to cost you too much money. You could do almost a straight swap. So I'd definitely be looking at that. Next game, Knights Dragons. This game, but the field was so wet. And although I had Drinky, so I wasn't looking at Ponga for captaincy, especially if I compared the rain a bit. But it looked so slushy out there, and that would have been enough to scare me off. He was still I think he was the second highest captain behind Valentine Holmes. And man, didn't he kill it? I started with Ponga Drinky. After the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I need 2 new fullbacks. I held on because there was other issues. And to be honest, I think that's the most comfortable pairing for now that I'm happy with, and I'm not interested in changing it, even with the Titans coming up for Tom. Absolutely killing it. What a bounce back Ponga's had. Hastings didn't really phase him in this one. Scored a try, looked very involved, 117 points, and that money you lost at the start, it's not going to be a worry now for holders. Their run's not too bad either. I definitely think he's a trade in too if you're after a fullback. Dylan Lucas with a 93. I think with that score, a lot of people look to bring him in. It's the fact you can play him at centre wing, but Kaipi's Paul's been amazing. I don't think they're going to take his spot off him. And, we don't know how long Frizzell's out for. Obviously, it was a hamstring injury.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious one. So,
if it's a serious hamstring injury, yes. If it's up to 4 weeks, then...
Available at centre wing as well, Lucas. So, there is that.
I don't hate it. 488. He had a break even of 61. So, he'll probably cost you around 500K. So... That's not a bad shout either, but I guess just in centre wing especially, it's just such a hot position at the moment with players. I'd probably rather spend a bit up and go Manu or Lomax or do something else. We've got Iro that could be an option depending on their team. So it's a position where I'm like, I'm a bit I don't know if I trust Adam O'Brien with that one. Really the other big scores for the Knights weren't too worth mentioning. Like Kai Pearce ball down data from 59 to 50, but he still hasn't got an attacking stat or a try yet. I really think it's coming, and you'd be pretty happy and comfortable saying if he goes over, he's probably going to score an 80, and I think that's on his horizon. He's not going to really lose any money. He's going to stay around that price point. Apart from that, over to the Dragons, as I said before, Zach Lomax continues a trend. 50 ton. I know he wants to move to centre, but man... He's good on the wing. And did he shift to fullback for a bit when at the end of that game? He did.
It was almost just after half time. He kind of swapped around with Sloan and then swapped back kind of 25. I don't know whether it was just to give a rest because of the conditions, but I think they will probably keep doing that. But yeah, he's just getting so involved. I mean, it came out early.
That try. Ridiculous.
No, look, I mean, it was a bit of a luck in it because he wasn't looking where he was passing it.
But it was beautiful. And the thing is, he's only owned by 6%. And I think what's going to work well for Lomax owners is the fact that Joe Manu went off. I think he'll be favoured over him. But as I said, if I can try and make it happen, I'm going to look at it this week for sure. Even though the Dragons seem to still be scoring points, and it's not really mattering kind of who they're versing. Like, you got 98 against the Cowboys. They play the Tigers in the coming week, who have been better, but are still amazing. And then Warriors, Roosters is a bit tough. Sharks, Bunnies, Bulldogs, and then they play Panthers in the bye. So, to be honest with you looking at that I feel like he's going to be another big one to own in the bye round. Like, Smokey for Origin. With all the other guys that like fullbacks that will play centers, I don't think so. Look, you can't say there's a 0% chance that he won't be looked at, but I just think that draw isn't too bad realistically for him. The Roosters seem like they're just leaking so much points at the moment. Sharks a bit unpredictable. Warriors is the only one there I'm worried about, and the fact is he's kicking goals, and it just doesn't look like really slowing down. Like, his floor seems about 50. He looks like a season-long hold in the top 4 centre wing, where at the start I said, no, I'd have him 5th or 6th. But I think I'm fastly changing my mind.
Yeah,
these goal kicking centre wings.
He's just so SuperCoach friendly. He has like 20-plus runs, throws offloads, tackle busts. He's got it all. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I'll lean towards holding Sam Walker and not getting a Hughes or kind of guy and favouring to bring in Lomax so I can have a third centre wing and go on a bit rogue in my 5/8s. I guess when we're not around the top 1,000, we can be a bit more rogue. And I just think with the way Gavin and Strange are playing footy, you don't need a high profile 5'8". If they can keep banging out these 70+ scores, they're going to be up plus 400K soon. So I think you could do a lot worse, where I think the faster you can bolster your center wing with as many high price guys, the better, because that seems like the play this year. Over the other Dragons positions, DeBellin keeps going on with his work. I think he's a pretty solid under the radar option. 55 going to stay 65 is available in front row, second row. To be honest with you, plays that first buy round. He's not a bad option. That's for sure. I know it's a bit of a vanilla one, but the dual will come in handy. Apart from that, there's no other real Dragons worth noting at this stage. Ben Hunt's not doing too bad, 62. Anyone else really that caught your eye on that one, Jake?
Nah, not really. I mean, a lot of like irrelevant scores, irrelevant players, but we've gone through the big ones. I think Lomax, like you said, he's the guy.
Yeah, that's for sure. Flick over to the
next
Bunnies
game. Bunnies.
I tipped the Bunnies. Would you believe
terrible.
it?
The Bunnies are terrible, and I think Latrell Mitchell's facing potentially 3 weeks.
3 weeks plus a bye, so that's 4.
So he's obviously going to be a sell, but I mean, he top scored for the Bunnies 73, but they were terrible. The rest, they might be last, depending on the how the Titans sort of for and against went with South. But I think
the South's the one again. Oh no, Titans had fair enough.
So
hot take. Do you reckon Sabs will go Latrell Mitchell to my prediction for his trade would be Mitchell to Ponga? I feel like I know he's probably, or he'll go back to Tom, but that would be pretty crazy going back to Tom after 1 week. But I think you'll look at that Titans buy. If he's playing long term, he goes Ponga. If he's playing short term, he goes back to Tom. What do you reckon?
We'll see. I reckon Pappenhausen might be a shout in there as well. I know he was poor, but he looked okay in their versus Bulldogs. But I think
back-to-back weeks, the fullbacks against the Titans have gone 110 plus. So it looks to be the play at the minute.
I mean, Murray was poor, 46. Cook got a 56, but remember Zulus was on the bench, so he didn't even play 80. I don't think any of the South players are really a go. Mikey, could you safely say that?
At this minute?
Like at the minute, I mean, when they maybe gel, you're going to get a cheap Cody Walker, a cheap Cameron Murray, but at the moment, I don't think you can touch any of them. A
cheap Cody Walker will definitely be on my horizon, especially with someone like, say you end up running a Strange and Gavin. He might be the perfect pivot when they come into form. Dimitro's going to scramble now, so I think they're going to be a good pickup at some point because his job's, like I saw today on the Fox pre-show, that his job's under scrutiny. They reckon one more loss and he could get the axe. So I think that young bloke that they've got, Jai Gray, he's going to play for, and he's going to be crazy. And surely they move wide into halves. There's going to be some changes I think he needs to make. Colin Matangi, he's always on my radar. In a poor side, his base is pretty good. And I'm obviously, as I said, I'll always have a close eye on Cody Walker. I can't help it. We know the ceiling this guy has, and he does this every year where he goes cheap. And I just can't help myself. But they're looking very poor, and it looks like they're going to stay around the bottom.
Over to a team who was not poor, the Warriors, the Waz, Sean Johnson, back to his best. He's goal kicking. You can get him at a discount, but his price is about to go back to where it was. They have a dream run, the Warriors. So I think any of the Warriors players, or a lot of them, I think are pretty good options. I think Sean Johnson, great option. Jackson Ford, he has absolutely blistered.
Holy crap.
He's gone. I'm pretty sure we mentioned him. I mentioned him with Sabs last week.
I mentioned him with Barnesy last week too.
But he's just
crazy.
And where attacking stats are probably going to come in the next month or so, he's definitely a good option. That's why I'm tossing up between him and Eli Katoa. They're kind of
680. He's like, you got to jump on now.
Over 700, so it's an awkward price. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck got moved to the wing with Dallin out. Dallin also would be a one to look at as well. Hasn't really hit the try scoring things, but not sure with that injury. So RTS only a 61 with a try. Not ideal, but you take a 61 for sure. Tamari Martin is an interesting one. He's not really bottom dollar. But I mean, Metcalf's pretty much done for most of the season. So you think Tamari Martin's going to be there for pretty much the year. So if he keeps scoring, 98, so there's potential money in there. If you want to get rid of Dylan Brown, you don't really want to move an Ethan Strange there. So potentially one to look at, but same, I guess, with Klukstad. He looks good. Sav's mentioned on our socials that like he's so underrated. He's underrated. A lot of people are hating on him because if in SuperCoach world they'd rather RTS be fullback, but I don't think you can. I mean, they won 34-4. So
Chance was amazing. How good does he look? And to be honest with you, he's an option too. He's an option. I know it's one game, but he's just showing a lot, like from last year, that it wasn't a fluke. And to be honest with you, he'll stay in pod territory. He doesn't come cheap because of the year that he had, but comes back with an 88. Like, man, like I know he's always got that injury concern, but with them flying, he's just over everything. And I think he's also a great super pod option. As I said, I probably would prefer like a Lomax just because of the injury history. But just a hot take here. We've got our answer, and I was right the second time around. It's Tom. Which the way this guy plays fullback roulette is crazy. With how good he's going to, the weeks he sold both his fullbacks, they tonned up. And that just shows how much depth this guy has. But when you're going to tax your trades at the end of the year, you're going to look back and go, shit, I just well pulled so many trades. But hey, he's flying, so you can't shit on him.
Lucky hand. He's got horseshoes. He's got rainbows going on. So that's
just copy what Savs is doing, basically.
He's
going to have to start doing smoke and mirrors like what Timmy did. So
I'll start playing silly buggers on the
he's going to have to.
Just don't fall asleep, Savs.
Yeah. All right.
AFB 68 front row option.
Without a try,
that was all without a try for once. But I mean, he does score a lot of tries, so you can really push that up to a 100 kind of every couple of games. So in a world where front row is pretty poo-poo, he's probably the best option.
Yeah.
And from this game, Mikey?
Nah, that's it.
Moving on.
Over to my team.
To talk about your penny.
Disappointed, but it is what it is. Was that a knock on? 120%, but wouldn't have made a difference? No, because we got ourselves beat. I'm not going to. It's just annoying. There were some really bad calls, but we do get the rub of the green a lot, so I'm not going to be one of those cocky pamper supporters. We weren't good enough. Some shocking missed tackles, but boy, Dylan Edwards, the super pod fullback. I know we're meant to talk about Manly first, but a shout out to him. He's just gone to other heights, especially without Cleary. This guy's doing it all, literally. And remember how there was that week where I was going to go fullback, and I was hard looking at him live on this podcast. And I
remember talking about it, I was like, "What about Edwards?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm thinking about the Panther, and he wants to go there."
Yeah, and I like he's just like the perfect. He's going to stay low owned. He's scoring as good as the other fullbacks. I think he's been probably the most consistent one.
He's been goal kicking.
Yeah, which helps, but I don't think it even matters. I think he's still killing it either way. Let's go over the other events. Cherry Evans, absolutely amazing game by him. Number 300, 128. Tommy Turbo, 111. I think it might be one of his high scores against Penrith. Great game by him. Finally scored a try and rewarded the guys that held on. Titans coming up for him. A nice draw is on the approach for him. I definitely would be looking at him for. It's tough because if you didn't own Drinky, I'd probably prefer Drinky over there. You'd be looking at Drinky, Tom, and Ponga if obviously you didn't own any of them, and I feel like it'd be a pretty big headache. But Tom against how the Titans are playing is it's going to be a scary week not to own him. You're an owner still, aren't you, Jake? You're holding on hard.
Nope, sold him to Pappenhausen this week.
Oh my god, you can't catch a break. Jake. You always go for this slump. Yep. Perhaps will come good, bro. Hold steady. Ola Kawatu, another thing that I kind of got right. He's been helping 76. Got a line break, but no try for this one. And it's just kind of proving that stacking a few guns in your second row right now is just helping so much. And I think it's a play. I think you got to have at least one of them. We've mentioned 3 good ones, him, and then I'll be looking at 4 to Katoa. I think you need one, but you're gonna need one that has a good floor and one that with a try is going to get you 80 plus. Because I just feel like if you're just relying on the pick full of middies, it's just not allowing your team to have a higher scoring potential. So I guess, yeah, I feel like he's a great option. And as I said, that week against the Titans too, I'm not sure if he will mark up against Fafita, but with this guy, it doesn't really seem. Yeah,
I don't think it matters.
Even so, it doesn't seem to matter because this guy just gets through so much work. Such a good player, man. Waddell had a very good game. Ben Travojevic with a 48. I was selling him, but to make my Katoa move, I had to hold him. So kind of worked a treat, did all right. And for now, just like I do not have the balls to play him. I don't even think I'd play him against the Titans. But I guess you just a steady hold for now. No issues to selling. Like, I was really on the sell train, but
I think with Burbo, the fact he's only 300K, which means he's very susceptible to a spike week. So, a big game, a try, gets a 70, and then got price rises for the next couple of weeks.
Take him to the bank.
So, yeah. So he's not really killing anyone. So just hope for a big score.
The big one in this one was Ruben Garrick with a score of 1. This seems to happen every year where he has this one thing in his role.
He does not like playing Penrith. He does not like it.
He hates it. So he's another huge one that you've got to consider. Break even at 58, probably loses about 25 something K. He'll miss next week with the category from his HIA, but then he's going to have a massive break even. But this is a catch. He plays the Titans. So it's more sort of thing where you go, okay, I'm going to just hold off and hope he doesn't. But to be honest, if you want Garrick, and if for some reason I don't get a center wing next week, I'll be looking at Garrick against the Titans, even with that massive break even. Because I remember this happened last time, and he had a really juicy matchup, and a lot of people didn't go there, and he had like 130 break even. And if you jumped on, he went over that massive break even. So he's the kind of guy that's just going to eat that matchup if he obviously returns for it. So good that he was a 1 for non-owners, horrible for owners, but he's someone that's got to be at the top of your watch list, IMO. Already spoke about Edwards from the other side of the park. Other than here, I guess the big ones are like Taruva and Tago having off games. To'o still churning out a decent base. And after the bye, he's someone that like to see. There's just so many center wings to go for. But once Penrith come back, they run their groove. I'm telling you, they're going to switch sides. Once Curry's back, I think more tries are going to come down that side of Talon and To'o. I jumped off Talon. He got 38, but I'm interested in jumping back on if he goes under 400K. I needed it to make my move this week, but I'm very interested in coming back on. I think for people that held on now, just keep holding on. I'll look to bring him back in for sure. I want to have someone from that back line as their draw starts to open up and Cleary gets back in. Apart from that, there's not really anyone. Obviously, there's a few injury concerns. Martin looks still really hindered. Brian To'o looked like he got a little bit hurt. Luai, they haven't really reported much about Luai, but he looked hurt, like obviously come off a bit. So a few question marks going into next week. They have a bye.
Good thing you have the week off. So.
Yeah, they have a bye. So the byes come at a perfect time for them, and then we reassess and they come back against a bit of a bogey side for them as of late, the Tigers, but even still with that, when Penrith lose like this, it's like Craig Bellamy. They just get in their team and you know that they're going to sort those problems out and come back firing. So as a Panthers, I'm not worried. Over to you, Jake.
What about, I guess, before we move on to the next game, Liam Henry, is he a sell? It's kind of going to hurt his price.
Oh, yeah, I missed him.
And break even. Scoring a -1. The cat one obviously doesn't matter because they don't play like next week, so he will be back, I guess, the week after. You think he's a sell? What is he, nearly 400K?
No, he's 334. He had a break even of -6, so it's not going to affect him. But with all the cavalry coming back, like he'll probably go back to those 30s, and I think he can stay steady for what he is. If it gets to this point that Takura keeps his spot because he was awesome and he's huge, he could be an option. But just right now, like especially if you're behind on the 8 ball, you want to be making trades where you're getting in someone that can have a high scoring potential. That's how you're going to catch up. It's not always about going for money moves and selling guys that are going to drop a bit of cash, especially in a front row position. Unless a guy puts his hand up, I think right now, especially for me, climbing up the ranks, I want to keep prioritizing people that are going to score, that are going to help me towards my weekly, like moving up, where a trade off him won't as of such. But yeah, he's definitely going to become on that sell list, unless another injury happened to one of those front rollers. But luckily, we don't need to worry about that now, luckily. But yeah, how do you feel about the -1 and the fact that it doesn't count for AEs? I hate it.
It's an
I
awkward
hate
one.
it.
I think
Doesn't make sense, right?
should. I don't know whether it's something to do with like the formula or calculating it where the DMPs might like it would not cause that to happen. I don't really know. I don't know how it
But
works.
if you captain him, you're going to get -2. So if you're able to captain him and if you play him, you get that score, then your auto emergency. What if like Ado like said it beautifully? If you only had Sam Hughes play this week and because he scored a -1, you got that 71. I think that's pretty ridiculous. Like, I know, cool for the owners, but if you're able to get double a minus score, that should count as an AE for sure. Like, I'm sorry, like tough shit. He took the field. I know that's unlucky. I really think they need a HIA rule, which a lot of us are calling for. And we all have an 18th man. But yeah, I think changes will come next year. Obviously, nothing's going to happen this year. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you're being a bit optimistic about that one. But we'll move on to the Dolphins versus Tigers. Weren't really any big scorers in this game. There's kind of all middle of the pack scoring, so not too much exciting. Marshall King finally got a decent score. Tri-City got a 70. Hammer scored a try and he got a 58. So we kind of see the up and down of Hammer. Gets a ton last week. Has
the try
game, scores a try. I think he had a line break, maybe even 2, and doesn't even crack 60. So kind of up and down. Good one for Bostock early. I think he pretty much scored 40 in the first 5 minutes and scored 10 after that. But good for Cash if you still have him, which is pretty much his only thing. That's kind of once he kind of tops out in price, he's going to be mass sold because we can't really rely on him as a play. I don't think he keeps getting attacking stats, but I don't think they will continue to stay like that. I don't really have anyone else from the Dolphins, which is sad as it is because they did win the game. Tigers, Stefano, he's absolutely killing it as a front rower. 84, he did have a line break in there, but take that out, he still gets 74 points in like pure base. He's
killing it on the All-Stars 2 weeks ago. I threw him up there as an option if you needed a front rower, and he's just kept going huge. So good shout there, Jake.
He's absolutely killing it. IPAP he keeps scoring decent. 1 to I guess look at potentially. I think they have some all right games, the Tigers. So maybe he's a more discount option to I guess Ford and Eli Katoa. Doesn't quite have I guess the upside in a better side than those two. So, but one I'll kind of be watching as well. Coruscant, I thought he was done. Michael, you nervous watching that game when he kind of came off? He had the big thigh guard out there, and
I was like, another friggin' bad move by me. I've wasted some trades in my hookers, man. But come back on and got a late try assist, and I was like, yes. But his matchups aren't too bad over the next few weeks too, and we know that try games come where he can go 90 plus. That's why I got him for the price, like a ceiling. He's got a good ceiling.
Yeah. Fatape, he got a double, only a 57. I think they're both off kicks, but
super pod choopy.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of base is like 10, so he's going to need some tries.
Too late now, but if you jumped on, like you've paying a bit.
Pretty sure Savs has him. That's
correct.
He's kind of how good Savs going because he somehow picks this bloke and he's going to make a bit of cash. So worked out for him, mate. Savs. Killing. Johnny Bateman, he had a HIA 21, so his price is going to come down as it could be quite juicy in a couple of weeks when these scores roll out. So want to kind of watch in the future. But Finu, he got a HIA that's S Finu because there was another one that debuted, the young kid. So he kind of hurt ones that got on him early as a bit of a cash cow.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Not too much to say from that one. And over to what was the most exciting game that I was excited for. I was sniffing this massive score from Drinky, and I was it's like I come into the round having a decent score, and I was just like, I just need him to tick over. With all the carnage I've seen in the rounds, you can never be so sure. You just get worried. But from the moment the game played, yes, he was in everything. He was getting all the little points. He was on 36 without a try assist or a try. And then he goes and scores a double, 139. Had about 18 minutes left in play and didn't score, scored like 5. It could have been like when he was on that 130, I was like, yeah, 150 plus here. And Titans just got back quite a few tries, took time off the clock. And although I might sound a bit of a cockhead and greedy here, that I wanted a lot more. I wanted to capitalize. Only 8, just how good he was playing. I thought one more try assist was on the cards. I know I'm greedy.
You've been very greedy.
But 8%, 4% captain, and I knew this was my ticket to advance in the rankings. So that's why I just wanted as much as I possibly could. Obviously, the number 1 captain option this week too. So Robson. Oh, we had lots of debate about Robson at the start, and Savs was all over him. And it sucks because I was a Robson owner all of last year, and I had him in my team lineup nearly the whole time, and then dropped to Grant. And he's killing it. 103. Valentine Holmes. He's killing it too. The best centre wing option. Heavily captain this week. You wouldn't have been unhappy with 81, but I say you'd be a little bit disappointed, hoping he could obviously go 100 plus. And boy, it looked like he was going to. And Tuolangi, I had a good look at him when I made a mistake in the group chat this week and looked at him, but instead went Elise Katoa and 78 by him. Cotter come on and got a line break late, 69. And then other than that, Laybutt looks like it's an ACL, which is so unfortunate for him and the guys that held, because I kind of was more on the thing of just hold him. Their draw's nice, and that stings. It'll be a big trade out.
Which I guess will open a spot. I think Valamay might be a guy to come in. So I know it might be Sammy Valamay. Sorry, Valea. That's the guy who they bought from the Warriors, and I think he's like
it'll be Sammy Valemi. Probably
really?
saying that wrong.
He's like 600k.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But he played so good for them last year, so. We'll see. Finifuiaki's just disappointing. He was up against a feeder today in 31, and he keeps churning him, but I'm holding the faith.
No, he was on the other side. Fuiaki was on
he?
the other side. So he was actually against, it wasn't Firma because he went out the centres. It was whoever they brought in there, maybe Cliche Haas.
Yeah, that shows how hard I was. I was only looking at Drinky, obviously. But yeah, 31, he's just absolute mud without attacking stats, but going to kind of hold firm with him for now with their matchups. Nano disappointing with his great run, and I would probably look to be selling a guy like Dearden. Over the other field, Brian Kelly seems to always be a super coach option, no matter how bad the Titans are doing. Fafita with a 76, Fafita, same guy, doesn't matter, and he's he costs so much. We mentioned 3 guys already that I would probably prefer over Fafita just because they're scoring good at the extra 100K, but he hasn't even scored a try yet. And his price is 832. He's not going to, his break even will be relatively achievable next week. Goes up against the Raiders. Could have a good game against them. He's 100% an option. Should be on your watch list, but there's just so many guys that you need to fit in. Is he the one you're throwing up, Jake, Feeder?
I think the fact you can get like Eli Katoa Ford for 150k less, you're better off spending that 150k elsewhere. Obviously for Feeder, 76 without, I think he had a line break in there, but kind of without an attacking stat. Week before he got 57 in 55 minutes. So you're going to get the same thing for Feeder like we've got the last couple of years. I guess the Titans, apart from 20 minutes when Chad Townsend got binned in that kind of that 20-minute period, they were terrible again. So I don't really expect the attacking stats really to be there. For Feeder, he tried hard, but sometimes he was just walking into the defense and getting bashed. So I'd rather someone else for 150k less because they look just as good.
Yeah, fair point. Firma rewarded owners with a 76, scored a try. Brimson and Campbell look to be the only 2 that are showing a bit of attacking threat other than Kelly. But other than this, they're just getting bashed week in, week out. Haven't won a game, and there's no way I'd be touching any of them bar David Fafita, really. That's the only one that I would be recommending to bring in if you wanted anyone. But as Jake just mentioned, plenty of probably better options at this point in time. And then over to that last game.
Game of the round.
How bad are the Eels at the moment?
The Eels, they look terrible. I guess we'll start with that one, the Raiders. Timoko looked absolutely phenomenal. I guess he's kind of seems to be an option every year. Has these big spike games, looks good base, and then kind of just last year, I remember a lot of people kind of brought him in because he was killing it and then just fell off. Like he just out of the blue just kind of just fell off a cliff and didn't really score well. But throw Schiller in there. Thing with Schiller is I don't know if he's going to keep his spot, but surely you can't really drop him after his last 2 games.
He just played. He was one of their best on field. He was crazy. And they play the Titans next week.
And he's going to be 238K. He's going to hit his 3rd game next week. Going to have a nearly minus 100 break even. If he's named, I think he's going to be one definitely to downgrade. I know you mentioned Ero before. I think the fact that Schiller,
I thought he was playing his 3rd game. You're 100% right. I'd have to go Schiller next week.
And then Ero obviously won't play his 3rd till the week after, assuming he gets. So I think Schiller, if he's named, going to be one to bring in. The thing is, Hopewadi's been out with like a burnt hand or something, and Ricky does love Albert Hopewadi, so there's every chance that he comes in for Schiller and ruin all our chances and hopes. So one to watch, I guess. Ethan Strange, he was phenomenal. You mentioned at the start you didn't play him. I didn't play him either. I played useless.
Switched him 2 minutes before kickoff.
I played Talangi over him for some stupid reason because, like you, I thought, Para, I think we'll beat the Raiders here. We saw the Faders last week, but that wasn't the case this week. Savage, again, he looked fantastic. I think all the backs were kind of fantastic. Kind of happens when you put 41 points on a team. Hudson Young's an interesting one as well. The fact that they versus the Titans next week as well, are one to kind of throw into that second row forward discussion, I think. I think he's a bit cheaper than the rest of them. What is he going to be, about 550K? Attack wise, I know the Raiders are kind of using their edges for the first time in 5 years, but one to kind of throw in the mix there, I think, Mikey.
Yeah, I don't hate it. He seems to be an option every year. Sometimes Burns option. He's burnt me in the past, but yeah, he's definitely an option.
Mikey's offer then in that case. Danny Levi with yet another try, despite being offside or something. But if a bloke doesn't score tries, he probably would have lost money to what he started at, I reckon. Where all his points are coming from.
Yeah.
I guess over the other side, Parramatta absolutely destroyed. They looked terrible. The errors, missed tackles. Sevo top score, got a double 71. Hopgood just 65 in base. But other than that, there was some stinkers. Dylan Brown, we mentioned it earlier, Mikey. Do you think he's a sell? Because the guy's going to leak cash and Parra just don't look good. And he doesn't look good at halfback.
It's hard. He hasn't had a game above 60. And as I said before, the thing that worries me with him is like we've already lost a total of 91K from him. Break even 107. He's going to lose
about another 45K.
Still be at about 640, but he can continue to lose more. I generally thought with Moses going out, he was going to look great, and he didn't. The important thing to note is with this performance, Brad Arthur's going to have mass changes. I think Lyle said it just before. Talangi won't be named next week. Evil Lussick. Yeah, they probably throw hands in. They could get rid of Blaze. I don't know if he's to blame, and they might, but there could be some mass changes after that performance. There could be. We're not sure because there is options for them. They got that young Sanders, and they do have Dejan Arce. The halves aren't working, and although Blaze might look good, like they're not going to drop Dylan Brown. They need him, but at 640K, as I said before, like I kind of like Ethan Strange. Like I can play him next week.
And then Galvin's
against the Titans, and then Galvin's back the week after. So then I can just play Strange on week ups. I'll play Galvin each week, and then I could go with Brown up to
a
low max is only going to cost me 60K. So it means I could do a Tua Picky to Schiller and go a Brown to low max, and that's that done. And then I still have the option to make some money to get to Cleary with Iro, but because I'm meant to be building funds for Cleary, but it just keeps seeming that there's all these other options that I want, and I'm just like, don't just tunnel vision one player. Yeah, well, I keep bringing all these other guys, and they're scoring hectic. So I'm like, I just got to worry about the points in front of me and deal with that crap later. But yeah, I think he's got to be on the sell list. Like, I think you can't just think, he's already lost all this. If you don't like what you see, he got saved by a try assist. Without that try assist, he was going to lose a lot more. And I think at 640, I'm happy to turn him into someone like Lomax and run a bit risky with Galvin and Strange, because both these young guys, they're both going to be battling each other for Rookie of the Year, and they look they look great, and the Raiders don't look as bad as what I thought they were coming into the season. I know Eels were really poor here, but I feel like he's got more to give, Strange.
Yeah.
And I think it's a safe play next week too.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm in the same boat with you. I'm thinking running those two. I see absolute merit in it. Other spots, Lussick 39, poor. Could be changes. The big one that was kind of brought in after a ton last week was Gutherson, 28 points, and I think that was with a try assist. So not a good game for him. All those that brought him in, burning. I know he scores well without Moses, but not when you get absolutely flogged like this. Other than that, Sean Lane continues to be a plotter. Again, that mid-range, second rowers aren't going to be the way to go. Like you've been mentioning, Mikey, go up to someone in that gun tier.
He's not going to lose too much cash.
Yeah,
Upgrade
he's still
him.
scoring up and down, but
I would get off him and jump to one of these guys killing it. Like you could go, like I'd go to Alisi Katoa or Jackson Ford, or I'd even like a Dylan Lucas, or just upgrade him to Fafita, or you could go down to Crichton if you want to make a bit of money. Like there's options. Like he might not be an urgent sell, but he's just these yo-yos. Like if you don't have a gun second row yet, then I'd definitely be looking at turning him to make it, because it's not going to cost you too much. He's at a nice price to jump up, although he did perform pretty well the past 2 weeks. But yeah, to perform that poorly against the Raiders, and as I said just before, let me get it up one more time. Their run after this is the Cowboys, Dolphins, Manly, then the bye, and then they come back and hit Brisbane, Melbourne. Like it's and that's all probably all without Moses too. Yeah, like to me, like it's just. That's just what makes me like I looked at Brown, and then I look at that and I go, screw it if it seems a bit crazy. I think there's a little more merit when you look at that, and the fact the buy's coming up for them too. You can't afford to be paying that much for a 5'8", or even like guys like this, and they're just not performing. I guess at that mid-range right is fine, but if they keep getting 40s while you're doing that, people that have jumped off might be just going, boom, they're improving their side. You've got to be aggressive and make moves. Like that's how you climb up the ranks.
Exactly right, and I need to start doing that, because at the moment I'm falling behind.
We're getting better, Jake. We've wrapped up 8 teams within an hour, where each week we're maybe shedding about 7 minutes, which is
we're on the improve,
because we don't want to bore you guys. There's a lot of sorry if I didn't get to some of the comments, guys. It's just so hard on a Sunday to wrap it up. We don't want to be going too late. Most of the guys are just commenting on how well they done. So congrats to the guys that did well. Tune in on Tuesday with Sabs and Tim as they review, and obviously they do their On the Burst podcast there that they release on the Wednesday.
And Sabs will be 100% gloating as well in that episode.
I'm
looking forward to what his rank's going to be, because I think it's going to be quite high up.
Yeah, congrats to him, man. It's just we're all assuming he's going to go. He's going into the top 100. I'm pretty confident in that. I think with that 1,300, like that is going to be in maybe the top 100 scores of the week. I think they'll be higher, but I think he'll go close to the high. Like he'll go top 20 maybe. It's not the high score, but I think he'll be close. And with that, at 900 ranking, he's going to go. So hoping for him he gets into the top 50, which is crazy with how it's kind of started. But yeah, if you're in a position like Jake and that, don't give up. Keep trying. You may as well go out.
We keep going.
You may as well go out swinging. Look, I was at 70K 3 weeks ago, and it looks like I'm on the rise, which I seem to do every year, Jake. But just don't give up. Make some moves and start thinking of moves that other people aren't thinking of, because we've mentioned here like what everyone's going to jump on next week. Just have a look and go, is that definitely the best option, or is there something else that I can do? Apart from that, guys, good luck. And tune in with Savs and that. If you have some questions, shoot them to those guys. One quick Savs thinks he's going to get to the top 40. Tune in for the whole podcast. Wow. Committed guy right here, but top 40. I'm not sure if that's his guess, or if he's looking at that live ranking thing. But
no, I just had a look at the live thing there. It's not right until kind of tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I definitely could go higher.
Wrong,
but yeah, if I'm Sabs, I'm just want anything top 50 there. You'd be absolutely anything top 100, but with that score, it's got to be top 40. And hey, man, hopefully you go close to the top score of the week. But there's got to be there'll be like a 1380 out there, surely.
Yeah, with
someone
like
that avoided all the carnage.
No, like 6 do not like no play.
DMPs. Yeah, that avoided all the carnage.
Yeah.
Drinky captain. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you back on the Sunday wrap up next week. Peace.